All right, welcome back to the Construction Game Podcast. Super excited to be here with you this week talking about how to keep your crews busy without burning them out and not breaking the budget. So last week, my in-laws came into town, which is awesome because they are like professional organizers. So they helped us do some late spring cleaning, early summer cleaning, and we got a bunch of stuff out of the house and cleaned up, and just cool to see them hanging out with the kids. It's just always a great time having them in town. So super excited that we were able to spend that time with them last week and really enjoyed ourselves. So thinking about your team and specifically your crews, the team that's in the field. And McKinsey has 60 team members, and of the group that has the most team members, it is our team in the field. You know, we have a finance team, we have a estimating team, we have our operations team, which includes the team in the field and our project management team. But that team in the field is our biggest part of the organization, right? So you got to figure it out in terms of like making sure that they are productive and making sure that they can come into the organization and add value, or you're going to be paying a lot of money and wasting a lot of money, and nobody wants to do that. So what do our superintendents do and our team in the field do? Well, they come in and they help us run our projects. Like, there are boots on the ground. There are eyes on the ground. They are there representing McKinsey's best interest on the ground. And our superintendents oftentimes will play the role of a site safety and health officer or a quality control manager, making sure that everything that gets brought on site meets the plans and specs and is a part of the approved submittals that go with the project. So our superintendents play a critical role to make sure these projects execute properly in the field. And you want to make sure you have great people in the field. And we do. We have great people in the field. And we have people that help train people in the field. And then we bring on some of the new guys that come in or girls that come in. You know, they get some of the older guys will help train them. And it's awesome. It's so cool to see the transfer of knowledge. And then it's also great to see, you know, somebody mentoring somebody, and then also somebody taking that mentorship and actually applying it. Like, it's a really powerful position, and it helps the organization get things done in the field, which then helps us invoice, which then drives revenue. So it's like literally the top line of our income statement. So our team in the field is extremely important to the organization and the organization running smoothly. So they come in and then they run the projects. And oftentimes our projects are like 6 to 12 months. So they're not like crazy long and they're not crazy short, but they're like 6 to 12 months. And our superintendents, you know, they'll come and run the projects. But then one of the things that I always feared was that after they're done running the project, what do you do until they have the next project lined up? And that used to like scare the crap out of me because, you know, if that's the biggest part of your organization in terms of number of people, now all of a sudden you can have a bunch of people that are getting paid and they're not doing anything if you don't have a bunch of work. So it was definitely a part of the business that like we wanted to have people, but like we also didn't want to have too many people because then all of a sudden it was like a drag on the organization. And then at the same time, it's like, well, what happens if you get a bunch of work and you got to get it done? Now all of a sudden you're trying to find new people. So you got to have a very happy medium with this thing. It's a very fine line to walk. And we've walked it a number of times. So, you know, as we bring these superintendents on and we're managing our crews in the field, you know, one of the things that we had to get really good at was our interview process. Our interview process is standard. And what I mean by that is we go down the exact same questions for everybody that comes in the organization in a superintendent's position. And the reason we do that is because if we're asking everybody that we're hiring the same exact questions, now all of a sudden we can start to create a pattern like, oh, hey, our top superintendent said this, and now this new person that we're interviewing also said this, and said that, and said this. And you can start to see like, oh, this person's going to be a good fit for this organization, and you can quickly see that other person is not going to be a good fit for this organization. So that interview process is the same every single time because it allows you to pick up patterns and see who's going to be a good fit and who's not going to be a good fit based off of past hiring mistakes and past hiring successes. So we always use the same exact standard process for hiring new team members so that we can, figure out those patterns. We're also super clear when we're hiring our new team members, what the expectation is. One of the questions we ask is, do you travel? Because we're a company that does work throughout the United States. So I can't always guarantee you're going to have work in Maryland if you're from Maryland. Like, this isn't a good organization for you if you only want to stay in Maryland. Like, because we do work in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Idaho, California. And I'm not saying you have to go to California, but we got to have a little bit of flexibility where you can also help out in Maryland, or you can help out in New Jersey, or you can help out in North Carolina, South Carolina, especially if there's a point in the organization where we don't have work here in Maryland. So you got to be able to be willing to travel. So we ask that in the interview process. And people who say they're not willing to travel, we already know it's just not going to be a good fit. Yes, we can be transactional and they can come and help for that specific project. But like, big picture, if that once that project is done and we don't have another one in that specific area, it's probably not going to work out. So instead of having to deal with that in 6 months, we usually just deal with it up front, and we just find people who are willing to travel because we invest a tremendous amount of time, energy, and effort and resources into our team members. Like, we help them get trained up, OSHA certifications, the CPR first aid certifications, CQM, construction quality management certifications. We make sure they have all of those certifications. And we work with them and teach them our process, the McKinsey way. So we don't want to keep restarting that process over and over and over again. Like, we want to build with great people, and we want to teach that process once and then start having that team member help teach other people that process. So we get really clear and granular in the interview process, and we ask specific questions that will help us create a better vision for everybody. Like, hey, we're going here. Hey, you're willing to go here. Like, it's going to be a good fit, right? We get super clear on the interview questions. We ask them, are you willing to travel, right? We also want to get clear on their goals, right? Because why do most people burn out? Most people burn out because they don't have goals, man. They're like, yeah, I just want to do this. And their goal isn't big enough because every position is going to have challenges. Every position, everything I've ever done has always had challenges. But when the goal is too small and the person you're dealing with doesn't have goals, they're just going to quit every single time. They're going to quit every single time, and you're just going to be starting over again. So I always want to find someone that has goals, because if they have goals and we can show them how they can hit those goals in our organization, you won't be dealing with that burnout question, because you're not a candle. People just don't have big goals, and then they treat themselves as a candle and say, oh, I'm going to burn out. I'm burning out. Well, they're burning out because they don't have a big enough target, and they're not willing to sacrifice enough to go get the target. And the team members that we have, they're willing to set a big target, but then put the work in to close the gap on that target. So find team members that have goals. And when you find a team member that doesn't have goals, or they're not committed to the goals, because a lot of people will write down something on a piece of paper. But when you start challenging them, like, hey, you told me you wanted to do this, and now all of a sudden it's getting hard, and now you're saying you don't want to do, like, what about this goal that you set? Well, you're not going to, no one's just on the side of the corner just handing out money. So, like, this is the work that is required to go hit that target. And you remind them about it. And the people that that want to go after their goals, they'll keep putting that work in and putting that work in and putting that work in. And you won't hear that burnout crap. Because that burnout crap is exactly what it is, crap. It's people that don't have goals and people who are not committed to their goals. You get rid of that when you ask clear questions on the interview process. And I'm not like going crazy challenging someone on the interview process. I'm asking the question. If they have goals and they're committed to those goals and they're showing how they're committed to those goals, then great. It's a good fit. But if they're just saying, oh, I don't have any goals, then it's not a good fit. Like, it is what it is. And we just keep moving forward. And that's why we have so many ads out there for superintendents, because we know that, like, not everybody is going to be a good fit. So, like, we not only are great at marketing our business from a sales standpoint, but we're also great at marketing our business and getting a bunch of people that want to say, hey, I'm interested in your business, so that we don't have to be like so desperate. Oh, we got to hire this person. No, we don't have to hire that person. If they're not a good fit, let's not even go down that path. And let's find the people who are a good fit, bring them in the organization, and let's ride off to the sunset together, especially when we're all in alignment. So get super clear on the interview. Goals. Are you willing to travel? Ask those specific questions. Ask a specific question so you don't have the aggravation after the fact. And one of the things that we've also done to really help not break the budget is by like, we also ask our team members, like, are you willing to also help out with site visits? So, you know, we're talking about like, we got projects that are 6 months to a year. Well, when that project is done, if we don't have the next project, like that superintendent can now go on site visit duty. When what is site visit duty? Well, we bid projects all across the United States and we have our superintendents go there. We have our superintendents fly to these site visits and be the estimators' eyes and ears on the ground. They make relationships with potential subcontractors. They're getting a feel for the property. Like they're telling us like, hey, there's horrible access into this place. Or hey, there's great access into this place. Or hey, we're in the middle of nowhere with this thing. So make sure you carry some money for that, right? So there are eyes and ears on the ground for these site visits. And this site visit thing has been a game changer for our organization. Because I told you, our crews in the field, our superintendents, is the biggest number part of our organization. So like when there's a lull in the field, now all of a sudden we have team members that can now help with site visits and we're not just like paying someone to do nothing, right? So they can now help with site visits. And those site visits now help the organization go after new work and potentially have new revenue coming into the organization. So those site visits have been a huge game changer for us in terms of keeping our schedule efficient and not blowing the budget because like projects are crazy. Sometimes it's like, oh, full bore. Yeah, go, 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 go. And next thing you know, it's like slam the brakes. There's an issue. There's a problem. You know, we ran into an unforeseen condition on site, but like you still got to pay the superintendent, especially that's what we do at least because we know that like we're not going to have great team members if we're just like hiring them. And then the moment things go bad or things, you know, stop on a project, we're firing them. Like nobody's going to come want to work with us. We want longevity with our team members. We want to train them one time, but then be able to tap into that knowledge over and over and over again. Like we don't want to have to do that other transactional way. We want to be in a transformational way and literally build with people. So for us, site visits has been a game changer in terms of filling the gap. And honestly, our superintendents love the site visits. I mean, they get to travel like all these crazy places like Idaho, California, some of these places. Some of our superintendents, they join us and they've never even been on a plane before. So like now all of a sudden they're going out to Washington State, Idaho, going to see National Park Services, going to the USDA facilities, military facilities all across the United States. Like they love it. So then it gives them like fire. And then like once we win a job that they actually did a site visit on, they're even more excited. So it's awesome. It's like those site visits have been a game changer for our organization. Like having our superintendents go to that. And you know, honestly, I used to be the one that went to all of them. And that's why the organization stayed small because there's only 24 hours in a day and there's only so many site visits I can do. But we got 40 team members that are in the field team and our superintendent. And those 40 team members can, if we just did all site visits with those 40 team members, that's 40 site visits we can do in a day. I could have never have done that when it was just me. So you're asking me, why is our organization growing? Well, our organization is growing because we have team members that can now help do the thing that helps us get more business. It's crazy, but it works. It's crazy, but it works, right? And then when we're building with our superintendents, another question we ask is like, hey, what is your specialty? Like a lot of team members will come in and like they've been a framer, a carpenter their entire life. Like they can build anything you ask them to build, right? You know, some of them have come in and they've been an electrician their entire life. Some of them have come in when they've been in the HVAC side of the business their entire life. That's great. I love hearing that because when I hear that, I'm like, man, we get tons of those types of projects. And now all of a sudden, if you're really committed to the target, we can go and self-perform those things. And what I mean by that is like that person that has that framing carpenter experience, they can help us build this thing on site and run the crews. Now, all of a sudden, instead of us hiring a subcontractor, we're self-performing it because we hired someone who understands every little nuance because there's a lot of risk with self-performing, but that person understands all the nuance. And now all of a sudden, we can make more money together because the organization will now all of a sudden has a budget for that line item. And now that person comes in and they can self-perform it. And now they can tap into our organization, basically having a little business inside of our business, right? What does that mean? Well, we'll buy the materials, but that person's running the job, right? They're helping install. They're helping hire the team members that are also helping install, right? But like our existing organization is handling the payroll and the additional bills and all of that stuff. So they don't have to worry about that. Now all of a sudden they just do what they're really good at. But the difference is, whatever the difference between what we carried as a budget and what it actually took to execute that in the field, the difference between that, so like say we carried a budget of $1 million and it actually took us $600,000 to do the work. Now all of a sudden we're talking about $400,000 of money that we can share between the team members and the organization. Now that's game changing. That is game changing because you're talking about team members who are burnt out. Well, yeah, they're burnt out because they don't have big enough targets. They're burnt out because they're doing a ton of work and they're never getting a reward. Well, I love rewarding our team members. Like of that 400 grand, it's great. Let's peel off 20% of that and incentivize the entire team for going and doing that extra energy and effort that it took to go self-perform that work. So that's exactly how you keep your crews in the field hungry. They're not burnt out. You keep them, you help, that's how it helps keep the budget intact, right? Like, cause you can't have your superintendents like eating out of the organization. No, we got to go out and utilize their skill sets and go make more money through their skill sets and teach them how to run the game. And as they grow, they get invigorated by it because now all of a sudden they're focused on the thing that they love. And that's executing in the field. And then our finance team takes care of all the additional invoices, make sure everybody gets paid, make sure all the taxes and all that stuff is taken care of properly. They make sure everybody gets hired properly, right? You're not going to have 3 years later, you got the IRS chasing you down because you didn't include a 1099 or do something that, that wasn't up to snuff. No, we do everything the right way. And now all of a sudden you just get to tap in and just do the installation and allow us and our finance team to handle all of the billing. And then our project management is pushing together the submittals, right? Like especially these government projects, you got to submit a submittal for everything that you do. Everything that you install, you need to provide a submittal. So our project management team is putting together all those submittals, all those PDFs and highlighting everything that we're installing. Whereas a lot of times, our team in the field isn't as great on computers, so they would get bogged down by that and would never want to take that on, and they just shied away from it because it's crazy once you get started, and it's like a burning fire, man. It's like it'll either make you or break you, and like you got to be good at submittals. So our project management team helps them put together the submittals, and then we get it approved, and now all of a sudden they can just execute. So self-performing has been a game changer for this organization in terms of incentivizing our team members to come in here and win. Come in here and win. So if you're looking to make $100,000 with incentives, up to $200,000 with incentives, the field game, it can be transformational for your team members. The field game can be. And especially in an organization where we're willing to share that, right? Because as you grow, we get to grow. And as we get to grow, you get to grow. And it's just this cycle of like nothing but success. And winners want to be around winners. So the team that's winning in the field, like I want to be around them because I know we got to execute in the field. And they want to be around us because they know we can execute in the office. So winners want to be around winners. And when we get together, we can always do something way bigger together than we could ever do alone. Yeah, I could probably do a little bit alone, but like I'd much rather be doing something way bigger, which then gives us the resource to then hire attorneys and do all the accountants and hire the team that you need, because like we're going through a lawsuit now. Like we can afford an attorney, but like when I was doing small stuff, man, that attorney would have eaten us and taken us to the cleaners. But now we can afford that attorney. We can afford a great accountant to put everything together so we don't have any tax issues, IRS issues, all that crazy foolishness. We can do things the right way because we're going after something big. Going after something big. If you agree that the best way to utilize your superintendents and to keep them hungry is to incentivize them, is to have them help you do other things in the organization like site visits. So now all of a sudden your organization can go after more projects. Let me know by smashing that subscribe button, and honestly share this with another contractor that is looking to grow their team, but they're scared to grow their team because they don't want their superintendents eating out of their pockets. Well, you got to train your superintendents how to help add value to the organization. And this is the video that'll do it. Let's roll.